Welcome to today's deep dive. You know the drill. We take a stack of sources, and today it's manufacturer press releases, technical spec sheets, vendor reviews, and our mission is to really unpack the specs and the implications of this highly anticipated piece of AV gear. It's the AIDA Imaging PTZ4KWP-NDI3-X30.
Yeah, releasing soon on August 17th, 2026. I mean, it's a very long name for an extremely focused machine.
Right. Well, usually when you picture live outdoor broadcasting, like maybe from a hurricane or a blizzard, you imagine this freezing camera operator.
Yeah.
Just desperately shielding a lens with, I don't know, umbrellas and garbage bags.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But this AIDA rig is built to just sit alone in the storm and essentially laugh at it. I mean, it's a robotic, weather-defying 4K powerhouse. But before we brave the elements, what actually makes this camera tick?
So looking at the engine inside, it's running a Sony over 1.8-inch CMOS sensor, and it's capturing 4K UHD video at 60 frames per second.
Okay, wow. 60 frame?
Yeah, 60. But the real story isn't just the image quality. It's really about how it routes all that massive data. So it natively outputs, NDI, HX3, SRT, RTMP, and RTSP.
Let's unpack that for a second because, I mean, throwing an alphabet soup of protocols at you is one thing, but the actual application is what matters here.
Right, exactly.
You're probably already familiar with PoE plus, say, power over Ethernet. So we don't really need to explain that one cable delivers power, robotic control, and video. It's almost like a magical garden hose that somehow supplies water, electricity, and an internet connection all at once.
That is actually a really great analogy.
Thanks. But, like, combining PoE++ with a protocol like SRT, that's where the workflow just totally shifts.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have this camera bolted to a stadium roof in Seattle, and a producer sitting in a warm studio in Atlanta is just pulling a broadcast-grade, low-latency feed without laying, like, thousands of feet of SDI cable.
Precisely,
Yeah.
because SRT handles packet loss beautifully over unpredictable public networks. And then NDI HX3 gives you that high-quality, visually lossless feed on a local network with, well, virtually zero lag.
So you're basically replacing a massive production footprint with a single Ethernet run.
You are, yeah.
But, I mean, a single cable is great until the actual housing leaks. Now, the spec sheet boasts an IP66 rating, meaning it's totally sealed against dust and heavy rain.
Right, dust and high-pressure water jets.
Exactly. But here is where I'm highly skeptical. It features a built-in cooling fan, which, okay, that's standard, but it also has an internal heating system that goes up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 40 degrees Celsius.
Right.
Is a literal furnace inside the camera actually necessary, or is this just, I don't know, an expensive gimmick to pad out the spec sheet?
Well, think about the optics and the mechanics involved here. I mean, this rig relies on a 30x optical zoom. So if you're pushing in on a subject from, say, 120 feet away, your mechanical precision just has to be flawless.
Right, because at 30x zoom, even a millimeter of physical resistance looks like a massive earthquake on screen.
Exactly. Not to mention, it has this massive pan range of 334 degrees and a vertical tilt of 109 degrees.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. So if freezing rain hits the chassis and locks up those pan and tilt motors with ice, well, your remote control from Atlanta is useless. So the heater isn't just protecting the electronics, it actually keeps the mechanical joints fluid and prevents condensation from blinding the lens.
Okay, I'll concede the heater. It's a mechanical survival tool. But, broadcasting isn't just about the machine surviving. There's usually a reporter actually standing out there in the freezing rain.
Right, the on-screen talent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how does a remote operator communicate visually with the talent when there's no camera op standing behind the lens?
So they've mapped the on-air tally light to NDI command.
Oh, clever.
Yeah, it's smart. When the director cuts to that camera, the NDI signal triggers the tally light instantly over the network. So the talent sees the red light through the downpour and knows exactly where to look.
And what if it's, like, totally dark out?
Well, if it's pitch black, the remote operator can deploy an IR filter or trigger these built-in white LEDs to save the shot.
Which really handles everything.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the actual deployment. If you're outfitting a sports venue or maybe a news fleet, you're looking at $3,295 a pop over at HDTVSupply.
Which is a real investment.
It is. The sources do mention a 10% off checkout code, which helps. But when you read through the user reviews, the focus isn't really on the price tag. It's on the risk mitigation of buying from a vendor with a 25-year track record.
Well, sure, because deploying an IP ecosystem requires deep technical backing. I mean, a missing firmware update or a botched configuration can completely derail a live production.
Which is highlighted perfectly by a review from a customer named Michael P. out in Alberta, Canada. He completely botched his own network configuration order.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But a customer service rep named Rachel actually caught the error, fixed it, and personally reached out before the unit even shipped.
That's incredible service.
Right. When you're dropping $3,000 on gear that ships with the latest firmware, free shipping, and a 2-year warranty, having a human catch your networking mistakes is, well, arguably as valuable as the hardware itself.
It really is. It ultimately redefines the whole risk-to-reward ratio for outdoor production. I mean, you don't need a massive, vulnerable crew out there anymore. A single, robust cable, reliable IP streaming, and a rugged housing can just do the trick.
Leaving the shivering camera operator in the past. But, it leaves you with something to ponder.
What's that?
As robotic, weather-immune cameras become entirely self-sufficient in freezing rain and pitch-black nights, how is this going to reshape the future of extreme sports coverage, wildlife documentaries, or even just your local news?